nice.
Directors, we're just activating the live stream. Directors, we're just activating the live stream.
Okay, I have a few announcements to start with. So in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the Ministerial Order M083, this meeting is closed to the public. If members of the public wish to provide input, they should contact the CVRD Legislative Services Department. And live webcasts and recordings are available at the Comox Valley RD website.
Jesse, you're really hard to hear.
Thanks. Is that better?
That's a little better, yeah.
Thank you. So we're gathered on the traditional unceded territory of the Comox First Nation. And I'd also like to read an article from the United Nations Declarations on Rights of Indigenous Peoples. And that's Article 8. Indigenous peoples and individuals have the right not to be subjected to forced assimilation or destruction of their culture. States shall provide effective mechanisms for prevention of and redress for A, any action which has the aim or effect of depriving them of their integrity as distinct peoples or of their cultural values or ethnic identities. B, any action which has the aim or effect of dispossessing them of their lands, territories, or resources. C, any form of forced population transfer which has the aim or effect of violating or undermining any of their rights. D, any form of forced assimilation or integration. E, any form of propaganda designed to promote or incite racial or ethnic discrimination directed against them. And I have one more announcement. Every year, April 28th, workers, families, employers, and others come together at events held across the province to remember those who have lost their lives on the job and to renew our commitment to creating safer workspaces. This year, in the middle of a pandemic, we recognize the frontline workers and the essential service providers who have become ill or lost their lives combating COVID-19 virus. Because of this virus, we cannot gather together for ceremonies, but please take the time throughout your day to think of the lives lost and the workers injured on the job, as well as their families. Please also take this as a reminder of the importance of working safely. So now we'll move on to the regular agenda, and there's a motion for in-camera meeting.
I'll move to recommend the in-camera.
Thank you. And we're closing under the Community Charter, Section 91C, Labor Relations, and Section 91K, Negotiations of the Regional District Service. And I'll go through the list. All in favor? Director Hamir?
Yes.
Director Grieve?
In favor.
Director Arbor?
Yes.
Director Grant? Director Grant?
I think you're still muted. Oh, there
Yes, yeah, somebody muted me. Thanks, Jake.
Director Swift?
In favor.
Director Frisch?
In favor.
Director Morin?
In favor.
Director Hillian?
In favor.
And Director Cole-Hamilton?
In favor.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to adoption of minutes from March 31st.
Move adoption.
Second.
And are there any opposed to adoption of minutes? Hearing none, that's carried. and the adoption of the April 7th minutes.
Move.
Second.
And is there any opposed to the adoption of the April 7th minutes? Hearing none, that's carried. And on to reports. Sewage Commission from April 7th.
Move.
Second.
Thank you. And is there any discussion on the April 7 minutes? And any opposed to receipt of those minutes? Hearing none, that's carried. We're on to Electoral Areas Service Committee.
Move adoption. Second.
Thank you. And that's the April 20th minutes for receipt. Any questions, comments? Any opposed to the receipt of the minutes? Hearing none, that's carried. And we're on to the Electoral Areas Service Committee consent items, and we are going to be passing these as a block unless you want to pull one of these items. They can be discussed separately.
I'll move that we adopt recommendations 1 and 2.
Second.
Yes, I'll get Jake to summarize the recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Recommendation 1 pertains to board approval of development permit DP 4C20 on the property at 1429 Seaview Road for the redevelopment of an accessory building. And recommendation 2 is consideration of board approval of development permit DP 23B19 and DP 24B19 on 1607 Little River Road for the development of
Okay, and this is a vote for electoral areas A, B, and C. Any questions or comments on those? Director Hamir,
Approve.
Director Grieve, Director Grieve,
He's frozen.
Beard.
thank you. Director Arbor,
Yep.
and that's carried.
Excuse me, Chair. It sounds like somebody has a vacuum cleaner or something in the background.
What the hell?
Kind of a buzzing noise. It stopped.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're on to recommendations 3 and 4 of the block.
And directors, as recommendation number 3 is to do with the Agricultural Land Commission, and my wife is the chair. In the consideration of perceived conflict, I'll remove myself from the room for that particular matter.
Thank you, Russell.
Would you like to have recommendation 3 and 4 moved separately, or can we move them together?
You can pull them if you wish to discuss them separately. Otherwise, we'll just consider them together.
Okay, so I will move that we move recommendation number 3 and 4 together.
Oh, no, Jake's informing me that the voting is different, so those two will have to be.
Okay, I will amend that. I will move that we move recommendation number 3.
Second.
Thank you, and that's for areas A, B, C. Any discussion on that? Director Hamir,
In favor?
Director Grieve,
I'm in favor.
thank you. Director Arbor,
Yes.
thank you. That carries. And we'll invite the CIO back.
Move 4.
Second?
Thank you. And that's for Greater Merville Fire Protection Service, so just B and C. So Director Hamir,
In favor?
Director Grieve,
In favor?
and that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving on to item 3, rezoning of 8659 Island Highway.
Move receipt.
Second.
Thank you. And is there any comments or questions on receipt? Is there any opposed to receipt? Okay, hearing none, that's carried. And we're on to recommendation 1.
Move 1.
Second.
Thank you. And that is to replace the zoning map with the one that's attached in Appendix A. And this is a vote of area ABC. Any further comments or questions? I'll go through the roll. Director Hamir,
In favor.
Director Grieve,
In favor?
Director Arbor,
In favor.
and that's carried.
Move 2.
Second.
Thank you. And that's that the public hearing, according to bylaw number 609, be waived in accordance with section 464 of Local Government Act. Is there any comments or questions? And that's again a vote of the areas. Director Hamir,
In favor.
Director Grieve,
In favor?
Director Arbor,
Yes.
and that's carried. Thank you. We're on to item 4, mutual aid agreement.
Move receipt.
Second.
Thank you. And I believe that we're going to have staff speak to this.
Yes, Madam Chair and Directors, Chris LaRose is on the line, and he's their Senior Manager of Water and Wastewater, and I will explain this proposed contract and the work done to bring it forward for your consideration.
Thank you, Russell. Can everybody hear me?
Not really.
No,
Not really.
you're actually
Okay.
broken up. Can you try again?
Okay. Just bear with me. Yeah, I'm just trying again. Just bear with me.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah, you're.
Is that better?
Mhm.
Okay, we'll try that. Good afternoon, everyone. So when the COVID-19 crisis took off locally, water and sewer purveyors quickly
No, sorry, Chris.
realized that there was a significant
Chris, you're dropping off the call.
delivery to minimize the threat of transmission between operators.
Chris, you're
Is that-
dropping off the call. I think we might have to ask Mark maybe to stand in for you today. Stand by, please.
Okay.
Sounds like Hornby Internet.
All right, sorry, Chris, I'm taking over. In late March, the Minister of Public Safety enacted Ministerial Order M084. And this order requires local authorities to use best efforts to enter into a mutual aid agreement with neighboring jurisdictions to ensure that first responder, wastewater, and drinking water services are maintained. A draft agreement is attached to the report and includes the following principles. It's focused on water and sewer services. We already have mutual aid agreements in place for first responder services. It provides a framework for how to request resources if required. Payment is on a cost recovery basis, and resources are only provided if they're available from a neighboring jurisdiction. A similar agreement is also under negotiation with our local jurisdictions. And just earlier today, the RDN board considered and passed this agreement at their board meeting. and other local governments that are included in the draft agreement will be considering it at their upcoming meetings. So the staff report recommends that the board enter into this agreement with other jurisdictions. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks so much for standing in last minute. Are there any questions from the board? This did go to Cumberland Council last night and it passed there. So are there any opposed to receipt? Hearing none, that passes. There's a
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. And the recommendation is to enter into the mutual aid agreement with neighboring regional districts and municipalities to enable the continuity of wastewater and drinking water services according to Provincial Order M084. Any further discussion? And I'll go through the list. It's a vote of the whole board. Director Hamir,
In favor?
Director Grieve, Director Grieve, are you there?
He looks frozen again. I don't know.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Director Arbor?
Yes.
I'm good.
Okay, I heard you, Director Grieve. Director Grant?
Yes.
Director Swift?
In favor?
Director Frisch?
In favor.
Director Morin?
In favor.
Director Hillian?
In favor.
And Director Cole Hamilton?
In favor.
Thank you. That carries. We're on to bylaws and resolutions. Amend at second reading. So recommend for bylaw number 609 is the Rural Comox Valley Zoning Bylaw, number 520, 2019, Amendment 4, for second reading.
Move.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? This is just a vote for the areas. Director Hamir,
Yes.
Director Grieve,
Yes.
thank you. Director Arbor,
Yes.
and that's carried. And we're on to bylaws for final adoption. Number 2, bylaw number 600, floodplain management bylaw.
I'll move.
Second.
Thank you. And this is for final adoption, and it's just the areas. Director Hamir,
Yes.
Director Grieve, Director Arbor,
Yes.
and Director Grieve.
I can do his voice if you.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Did he actually come on? Because I can't tell now.
He did.
Thank you. And that's carried. So we're on to item 3.
Move recommendation.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. And it's bylaw number 591, Comox Valley Sewerage Service Regulation, Fees and Charges bylaw number 71, 2010, amendment number 2. And this is just for Courtney Comox. And it's for final adoption. Are there any comments or questions? Okay, Director Grant,
In favor?
Director Swift,
In favor?
Director Frisch,
In favor?
thank you. Director Morin,
In favor.
Director Hillian,
In favor.
and Director Cole Hamilton.
In favor.
Thank you. That passes. And we're on to new business. And the item here, number 1, is correspondence from Director Grieve regarding Federation of Canadian Municipalities board appointment.
Move receipt?
Second.
And are there any comments, questions on receipt?
I can comment.
Okay,
I,
go for it, Director
I
Arnold.
just want to thank for Director Grieve for presenting us at FCM. I think he's doing a great job of reporting regularly. And I especially appreciated this year when he got involved in the whole discussion around the Western table and advocated for the interests of BC and the coast. That was really appreciated. So I'm really thrilled that he's willing to continue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments.
I might add that I think this position would be a great place for Director Grieve to advocate for improved internet service in rural areas.
Good idea.
Just one thing.
Yes, go ahead.
Just one thing. You can imagine our difficulties here, and you could imagine the difficulties that they're going to have in Ottawa with running a parliamentary session with Zoom. But FCM have a committee of the whole meeting on Friday. And even splitting it up into 2 sessions, there's still going to be like 60 people on each call. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, definitely technical challenges there. Okay, is there anyone opposed to receipt? Hearing none, that's carried, and we're on
Move the recommendation.
Second.
and that's to provide a letter of support for Director Grieve to be considered as a member of the Board of Directors of FCM. And this is a vote of the board. So I'll go through the list. Director Hamir,
Sorry, yes.
Director Grieve, Director Arbor,
Yes, I almost changed my mind. I noticed only the electoral areas are going to pay for those fees, but that's all good with me too. So I'm in favor.
thank you. Director Grant,
In favor.
Director Swift,
In favor.
Director Frisch,
In favor.
Director Morin,
In favor.
Director Hillian,
In favor.
Director Cole Hamilton.
In favor.
Great, that passes. Thank you. So before we end, I think we'll move on to new business. And our CAO will give us a update on our COVID response.
Thank you very much, Chair and Directors. And this is just an update with respect to the CVRD's services under these certain circumstances. And just to assure you that work does progress. I'll just go branch by branch, and I thank the general managers very much for providing this information. In engineering services, both our water and sewer crews continue to operate without interruption. Staff are healthy, personal distancing rules are in place, and the separation will continue for the time being. The water treatment project continues to make good progress with a full contractor workforce now in place after a bit of a disruption for a 4 to 5 week period with a reduced workforce. Nonetheless, the project is on time and proceeding well. We will shortly have a time-elapsed video for the water treatment plant portion of the project to provide for you so you can see the progress. I can't believe how much it snowed up there. The regional landfill continues to operate without changes in service levels. Daily residential visits are up 5 to 10%, but waste volumes are down approximately 10%. We continue with many of the preparations for our capital projects. Organics is one of those, as well as preparations for the odor controls at the sewage treatment plant. In the planning and development branch, our building inspection continues to be completed with COVID safety procedures in place. This includes receiving permits online, as well as in fact undertaking some inspections by video conference. The number of building permits issued is higher than it was this time last year. Bylaw compliance files are also higher, probably a product of individuals being at home a little more. Our planning applications are similar to previous years, but down a little bit. In transit, and I know you're interested, we have been working with BC Transit, the service provider, to see about service reductions. Yes, we too see that there is a less occupation of our buses, but it is an essential service. We're trying to balance both. We're working with both BC Transit and the providers to reduce service levels. looking at a Saturday type of service throughout the week. This will take some time to implement, and we will have to be mindful of weather conditions change and the demand for transit service increases with the province's loosening of rules. But it is something we continue to oversee. We continue to encourage reductions for cost savings while providing an essential service level. In the financial services, finance is continuing to work with select budget managers to create scenarios for the impact of COVID-19 and the good work in terms of coming up with a recovery plan for you, our board. Finance is watching very carefully the cash flow daily with no concerns at present. We are very pleased that the province has put in place measures that will help to ensure that our payments or payments to us are received on time and our projects continue to grow. We continue to monitor projects that are requiring timely payments to ensure that our contractors are paid on time. In human resources, we continue to support our workforce for those that are working from home and working in isolation. We are looking for opportunities from some of the USW employees that are on layoff to come back. I'll report a little bit more on that with respect to community services. They're also supporting the EMT in our response and recovery plan and our CAT COVID Action Team initiative, which I will discuss a little bit further. And we are releasing the province's framework with respect to the reopening and potential staffing impacts that will have after a prolonged working at home. As the board is aware, we are encouraging our staff and providing guidance and advice to them with respect to the changes in the workforce and their daily life. Supporting our workforce is foremost on our mind. In community services, our fire departments are receiving somewhat reduced call levels. We're very grateful for those members that have stepped up and are supporting us in our EOC. And we are also advancing some of our projects and purchases of equipment that is required for our fire services. In our parks department, 2 full-time USW members are presently helping, and we are looking at the potential of additional USW members to help with respect to maintenance that is required in our parks. As you can imagine, the demand in our regional parks has been up significantly as people use them for their needed time outside. In our recreation facilities, there are 10 USW employees who were not laid off and continue to work to do the good work of improving our facilities and making sure that they are shipshape, undertaking much of the work that we otherwise would have done in our scheduled downtime. Our recreation leadership is working on the opportunities for reopening scenarios. I'm very appreciative of the fact that the BC Recreation and Parks Association is looking at this from a provincial perspective, but we will have plans and layout options for our commission as we move forward with respect to the specifics of our facilities here in the Comox Valley. The emergency response EOC has reduced the number of briefings waiting for provincial recovery plans, and I am very grateful for the municipalities and our own staff that help to support the emergency response. We are now in our 3rd period. I've taken over again as director, and I'm very grateful for David Allen having been the director for the last 2 weeks, which has enabled me to catch up with other CVRD business. In corporate services, we're finalizing the corporate plan, is using this as the basis for the COVID response and recovery. I will have a report to our board in camera tonight, and we will work with the board with respect to a recovery plan that will be reported out to the public as it is advanced. Communications continues to support the EOC and ensures that our community members are aware of what services we are providing as the CVRD and what has changed. With respect to the COVID action teams, this was an initiative that you, the board, asked of us. Were there staff that, because of COVID, have a little more capacity that could be utilized as a team or teams to help support our community? That group, a group of organizers from across the CVRD, has been getting together and is developing a plan. We have identified 2 types of organizations, those that are responding directly to the COVID response within our community, supporting those that are vulnerable in our population, or those that are in need of support on account of the COVID and the pandemic and its results in our community. There are also another group of nonprofits and societies, and those that we help and work with to support our services, be it within recreation, or be it those that support the islands, High Seek, as an example, on Hornby Island. The group has come up with language that we will use to outreach first to that first group, those that are supporting the initiative and the pandemic. We will be seeing what resources or what help there might be for us to provide for them for the short term during this response period. We will also be ensuring that they are aware that we, the regional district, and you, the board, are very aware of the services that they provide, and we are supportive of them and doing what we can. The second group of outreach is a much broader list. As you can imagine, there are many groups that we work with in our recreation facilities, just as an example. We will be reaching out to them again to express our support, to ask them if there are needs or things that we can do to support them in order for them to get back up and running, in order for them to advance the good work that they provide to our community. While this is in its early stages, we have a good group of employees from across the organization that are exceptional at communications, and this will likely be rolled out in the next couple of days with those groups being contacted. We will keep tally of the results. We will look carefully as to how we may be able to support them with those staff that may have a few extra hours because of inefficiencies or otherwise as a result of COVID. We don't have a lot of extra, but we do have some, and I think it will make a difference to these organizations. We will continue to report out the results of this good work and ensure that it meets up with your expectations and objectives. Finally, as you may be aware, we reported out some organizational changes within the regional district. And that is, we have promoted James Warren to the Deputy CAO position, and James will continue to oversee communications, some of his previous corporate services responsibilities, and most importantly, be the lead for our HR department. Ellen Jackson has been promoted to a senior manager from a senior advisor of HR, and most of the HR department will be working with her and coordinated by Ellen, with the exception of payroll, which will report directly to James. Replacing James, I'm proud to announce Jake Martins has stepped up and will be the new general manager of corporate services. To replace James, a person that you're most familiar with, Lisa Dennis, has stepped up and will be the manager of legislative services, which was Jake's previous role. This means that the executive manager of HR position will not be replaced. And at this time, we are not replacing Lisa Dennis's position, as the demands for legislative services is somewhat tamer at this time. But it is something that we will monitor as we respond to the recovery and the greater demands of more committees and more meetings or otherwise. I'm proud to announce this. It demonstrates that we are an organization that is deep in talent and ability. We have the ability to utilize that talent when it comes to being required. I'm most proud of all those members that are stepping up and thankful for them. I'm also grateful to announce it is somewhat of a cost savings to the regional district. It definitely is not costing the taxpayer more, and you can be assured you'll get good quality service. I'm available for any questions, Chair, if there are any.
Great. See, Director Hillian has a question.
Thank you, Chair. No, I don't have a question, but I do have a couple of comments. First of all, I'd like to commend James, Ellen, Jake, and Lisa on these new opportunities and wish them all the best. And thanks to Russell for the reorganization and what sounds like a very effective manner. Secondly, I wanted to express gratitude on behalf of several constituents who have spoken to me about the parks being kept open and what a valuable service that has been under these circumstances. I also want to acknowledge that I made a trip to the landfill the other day, and was very impressed with the efficiency and congeniality of the person managing the gate and other staff involved, who did acknowledge that they've had some difficult days out there, but I was very pleased with the service that was provided. And I think that's a reflection of our regional district staff in general. And as such, I also want to congratulate and commend our CAO for the excellent videos that were prepared in support of staff in relation to dealing with the current pandemic. Thanks very much.
Thanks for those comments, Director Hillian. Is there anyone else with questions, comments? Director Arbor?
Yeah, thanks. I think Director Hillian spoke to the key points, and I can definitely say how appreciative. I haven't left the island in now almost 6 weeks, and And it's been really wonderful to see the regional district reconfigure, keep a steady hand on our affairs, and also early on organize an emergency operations center that has been very responsive, I think, to elected officials and other needs in the community. I think staff showed great leadership around expediting the grant and aid process to help organizations, large and small, across the Comox Valley. And I couldn't be more proud of the response of the CVRD over the last few weeks. And even though it's a little bit far away here on the islands, we still feel very connected. And I know many residents also appreciate the leadership of the CVRD at this time. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much for those comments. Can I get a first and seconder for the receipt of the verbal report?
Move. Second.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments? And are there any opposed to receipt of the verbal update? Hearing none, that passes. And we're on to media questions. Are there any questions from the media today? Nope. Staff say we're good. All right, so we'll move in camera.